Hey, I'm coming in. What's up? And today I'm going to do a review on the very latest Stranger Things Season 2. Netflix just released the whole thing at once, and I don't have time to binge watch all of them, so I'm pretty sorry if I have kept you waiting. Also, I'm sorry about it if I am pronouncing some words wrongly because yesterday my teeth, two of my teeth, just got extracted for braces. So I'm gonna try my best to speak, but it's not gonna be that good. Well, anyway, I'm gonna recap season one. Basically, there's this other dimension called the Upside Down, which is basically a scarier and deadlier version of the real world. And inside the Upside Down, there's a monster called the Demogorgon, which captured a boy named Will Byers. So Will's friends and family and their friends all teamed up together to defeat the Demogorgon and take Will back. In the process, they met a girl named Eleven, who acted weird and could control things with her mind, aka telekinesis. And Mike, one of Will's friends, fell in love with her. However, Eleven sacrificed her life to destroy the Demogorgon in the end of season 1. If you haven't watched season 1, I don't recommend you to watch this video because it's gonna contain a lot of spoilers from last season. So yeah, the episode 1 is Mad Max, all in caps. And this episode isn't related to George Miller's Mad Max, not at all. On this episode, Will, Dustin, Lucas, and Mike were hanging out, and Will had this weird vision where he suddenly went into the Upside Down and back. And apparently these visions kept happening to him. I was expecting an explanation to this, but there's none, so I guess it isn't that interesting right now, but it will be more interesting afterwards. What interests me the most is the new characters, Billy and Max. Max was a girl and Billy was her stepbrother. So Dustin was playing a game in a game store in an arcade, but a player named Mad Max beat him. And apparently that's Max, actually. And Max was the new girl in school. So the four boys were spying on her and stuff, and that's really interesting and funny. And Max wasn't some kind of dumb girl. When she's being spied on, she knew it, and she would throw off the boys with a piece of trash. And that makes Max a frickin' cool character. And the ending is surprising too. Eleven was right there in Hopper's house, and Hopper was hiding her from everyone. Although it's not a great episode, it's a promising start. Over to episode 2, Trick or Treat Freak, which is unexpectedly slightly better than episode 1. Now every single storyline on this show feels a bit more fascinating. The whole pumpkin patch getting poisoned storyline really has this sense of mystery to it, as well as Will's visions. They're getting scarier and scarier. Again, the character of Max is really cool. Last episode, her personality was kind of ambiguous, but on this episode, she became the protagonist. And then we have the character development of Hopper and Eleven, and seeing just them two interacting with each other is somewhat heartfelt and lovely. And the ending really brings a smile to my face when it ends with the Ghostbusters theme song. Overall, there are plot progression, there are character developing, and slight amounts of drama is happening. It's good. Then it's episode 3, The Pollywog. The show gets more and more entertaining because every storyline right now is also interesting. There's not one moment so far that acts as a filler. First of all, we see Dustin feeding his new pet, which was a creature from the Upside Down, and it looked like it could become a terrifying creature when it grows up. Dustin named it Dart, and that's an interesting thing that some creature just showed up. And then, of course, not too late for the meme where Jim Hopper shows Eleven what is music. But that's actually a flashback. In the present day, Eleven was really angry that she didn't get to go out and find Will for 1 year, and she went outside of the house for the first time, and that's quite interesting to see. And there are also horrifying moments on this episode, oh my gosh, where Joyce found out about the shadow monster through a VHS tape Will recorded. And the ending, oh my gosh, it's scary. It's really scary. And episode 4, Will the Wise, is also very scary because of how Will acts. He started to act weird and he was so frightened and he sounded like he was possessed. Jonathan and Nancy were also caught up in a more paranoia-inducing government thriller storyline where they tried to uncover the secrets of Hawkins' lab. The fight between Eleven and Jim Hopper was stunning, and the scene where Dustin found out what Dart did to his pet cat is gruesome, brutal, and terrifying. And Will started to get crazy and started to draw these drawings, and all of these drawings can connect with each other to form a map. And Hopper suddenly learned something about the map and went to a specific location where it's like an underground tunnel, but it's all dark, organic, and gross. Episode 5, Dig Dug, is even more horrifying, but it also has some heartfelt scenes. Such a quality episode. Eleven figured out who her mom was and tried to visit her, and a lot of weird things happened during the visit, and it was also emotional. What's more entertaining is Hopper stuck in the underground vines, which is basically Will's map, and Joyce and Bob went to save him, but did they succeed? Find out yourself. And the ending where Will screamed, that's the most terrifying scream face I had seen for a long time. That's scary as fuck. You can tell something's very wrong just happened, and it's torturing Will. And Will was like, I can't do that facial expression. It's so crazy. On to episode 6, The Spy, where it gets really climactic and suspenseful. So this episode has mainly 3 storylines. The Nancy and Jonathan trying to expose Hawkins' lab storyline. The Dustin, Steve, Lucas, and Max trying to kill the Demogorgon storyline. And the Will, Mike, Joyce, Hopper inside Hawkins' lab storyline. It's a really great episode because of how smart it is. The ending gives a pretty nice plot twist, and it makes storyline intertwine with each other. I'm giving a spoiler alert. First of all, I really love how Nancy and Jonathan's little romance play out. It's a bit goofy, but I like it. I also like the character of Murray for some reason. Then we have Dustin, who teamed up with Steve. Then Lucas and Max helped him to kill Dart, who had become a fully grown Demogorgon. Oh shit. So they were hiding in this RV and they were trying to get Dart and kill it. But surprisingly, there were more than one Demogorgons, and they almost killed Steve, Dustin, Lucas, and Max. But yes, I'm glad that Lucas can prove something to Max. But they survived because the Demogorgons went to another place apparently, and that's where the storyline intertwine comes in. Will thought there was a way of stopping the shadow monster and lead the doctors to send a group of men to a specific spot in the underground tunnels. And turns out it was a trap, and the Demogorgons showed up and killed the group of men. And the Demogorgons slowly worked their way into Hawkins' lab, and now the whole Hawkins is in danger. Great ending, and really scary too. And then it moves on to episode 7, The Lost Sister. Now I really want to talk about this episode, because this is a hell of a controversial episode. So this episode is mainly and completely about Eleven. Since Eleven found out about another girl who has powers, 8, now she had to find her on her own. And when Eleven found 8 and her team of outcasts and criminals who were all wearing these 80s teenage angst gangster outfits, and surprisingly, 11 easily blended in with these people. And 8 was the leader of the gang, and she was like training 11. Channel your anger. Those people want to hurt you. And that makes the character of 8 predictable and boring, and also cartoony and unreal. And the whole situation feels like a very weird ripoff of X-Men First Class. And at the end, the cops showed up and the gang managed to escape. But 11 was like, you know what? I'm not with you guys anymore. Bye. And she just left and pretended that nothing really happened. And people think that's why this episode is meaningless. But I disagree, because 8 will probably return in season 3 as a villain. Maybe. Just saying. And I don't think this is a filler episode. If this is a filler episode, why don't they just cut this entire episode off and make this season another 8 episode season? This episode is here for a reason, but it's just written in a quite underwhelming way. If I were the Duffer Brothers, I would probably chop this episode up into pieces and put it all over 2 episodes. But other than the mildly cringy moments and the dumb scenes ideas, it's not as bad. But it's still a flop though. Then it's episode or chapter 8, The Mind Flayer. We're back with Mike and Will in Hawkins' lab, and everyone joining forces again to survive and fight. This episode also has some of the most intense and suspenseful moments I've ever watched in the show so far. It's such a great episode. The ending was a bit predictable, but it's also amazing. I'm giving a spoiler alert. The first half was basically Mike, Will, Joyce, Hopper, and Bob and the Doctor stuck in Hawkins' lab while all these Demogorgons break out of the tunnel and kill every single person they see. It was really suspenseful. They were stuck in a room and the power was suddenly down. So Bob had to go to the basement and turn the power back on. So I thought maybe Bob would die after he turned the power back on. No, he was still alive. So the entire group of people ran out of the lab, and Bob also made his way out of the lab, almost getting killed, but still alive. When Bob was out, he saw Joyce and other people, and he just stood there. He was like smiling. I'm so glad that I'm still alive. As a Demogorgon jumped on him and ate him alive. A bit unpredictable and definitely shocking. Then the kids and Steve met up with Nancy and Jonathan outside the lab. Then they met up with Joyce, Will, Mike, and Hopper, and they all went to Will's house. So they decided to use Will to fight against the Shadow Monster, because he's now the spy. So they tied him up and made sure he doesn't recognize where he was, because if he did, then the Shadow Monster would know where they were. And Will was possessed at the moment, but he also communicated through Morse code at the same time. And he told everyone to close the gate. And then suddenly a phone rang and Will knew where they were. Oh shit. And they all geared up because the Demogorgons are coming. They're exposed. And suddenly a dead Demogorgon popped up. Turns out 11 was back. And oh my gosh, look at Mike. Just look at his reaction. And at last, it's Chapter 9, The Gate, which is another grandiose epic of an episode like last season's finale. It's also a roller coaster of emotions and dramatic moments. Like, that's the way the Duffer Brothers liked it. It has funny moments, scary moments, amazing moments, and many other countless moments that are scattered everywhere on this episode. It's like the Duffer Brothers wanted all these events to happen in one episode and made some storylines to connect them all. Which is a bit tricky, but if you write the story in the right way, the end result will be great. And same goes for this episode. This may actually be the best episode of Stranger Things so far. So, I'm giving a spoiler alert. Again, it's basically separated into 3 storylines. Joyce, Nancy, and Jonathan took Will to somewhere he had never been to, and they tried to heat him up in order for the Shadow Monster to leave him. Then we have Jim, Hopper, and 11 going back to Hawkins' lab and closing the gate. And we all have Steve and the kids who dealt with Billy and tried to burn down the entire underground tunnel while not getting killed by Demogorgons. Demodogs, sorry. First of all, I really love the scene where Billy came and Steve tried to step up and fight against him. If 11 was there, she would have just killed him or something. But it was an entertaining fight scene. Not the most intense, but entertaining. And it's cool to see Max being braver and tougher. And then there's a scene that really scared me. And that's the scene where the shadow monster, aka the Mind Flayer, leaves Will. They had to burn and scorch Will in order for the thing to leave. And Will was like possessed by this thing and he was going insane. Dart's reunion with Dustin is also one of the more emotional scenes. I'm glad that the Duffer Brothers didn't leave Dart alone. Leave no loose ends. And the scene where Eleven closes the gate was kinda cool, but it's a bit too dramatic. But the makeup for the scene is really not that easy. So shout out to the makeup artists and the designers. And we also have a fun 3 months later scene where they have a ball. And Lucas and Max were being really sweet and they kissed, so that's something to celebrate about. You should have seen my reaction too. And then Finn saw that and he's like, I'm going in, and he kissed Millie. And that's kind of funny and cool too. Overall, this season is more ambitious than season 1 and it is larger in scale. More storylines weaved up and it gets really entertaining. The new characters of Billy, Max, Dr. Owens, and Bob didn't do much, but doesn't mean they're bad characters. I actually like Max and Dr. Owens. I also like how the scientists in Hawkins' lab is kinda good now. And the plot in this season is way more entertaining and scarier than last season. The scenes are more precise and well produced. Episode 7 is kind of a flop, but people are a bit too harsh on that episode. It's actually not that terrible. And other than that, in episode 1, the whole season is packed with amazing scenes and storyline ideas, great character developments, and it's just entertaining and thrilling. The worst is Chapter 7, The Lost Sister, and the best is Chapter 9, The Gate. I'm giving Stranger Things Season 2 a 10 to a 9 out of 10. So, have you watched Stranger Things Season 2? From 1 to 10, how much would you rate it? Like if you like it, and subscribe if you want more.